Consciousness is the source of all reality. Our thoughts have the power to influence the development of our reality in time-space as it applies to us, if those thoughts can be projected with adequate intensity. Up to this point in our discussion of the gateway process has been relatively simple and easy to follow. Now the fun begins. Gateway involves more than just perception of these aspects of the universal hologram, which can be accessed in the dimension of time-space as we know it. To explain how and why human consciousness can be brought to transcend the limitations of time-space is the next task which must be addressed. How and why human consciousness can transcend the limitations of time-space, my friends. Because it's all just energy, it's all just on it like a Mobius strip of infinity and energy, a cosmic hologram. There is no start, there is no end, there is only the now, the infinite being of collective consciousness and the interconnectedness of everything in this known, perceived and unperceived energetic universe. To do this, we must first appreciate what time and space are in order to understand how the dimension that they constitute can be transcended. Physicists define time as a measurement of energy or force in motion. So time is literally just energy, perpetual energy in motion being measured. Time doesn't actually exist. In other words, it is a measurement of change. Remember how it was just talking about how our brain is not really rendering information so much as just perceiving changes between what it knows and what it's being given in this holographic projection? Interesting. So time... it's connected somehow there. I can't fully finish the loop that just disappeared out my ear. Out my brain. However, in order for energy to be in motion, it must first be limited in some way within the confines of some sort of vibratory pattern, so that its confinement gives it the capacity for being contained at a specific location which is distinguishable from other locations, space. In order for energy to be in motion, it has to be limited within confines of a vibratory pattern. So basically what I'm hearing from that is everything, we have to build our own cage to exist inside of it, to have a flesh vessel. We rendered this for ourselves. We are the creator of this reality. Energy, which is not confined, is force without limit, without dimension, without the limits of form. It is infinity, cannot move because there is nothing beyond infinity, and therefore is outside of the dimension of time. It is also it is also beyond space because that concept implies that a specific energy form is limited to a specific location and is absent from other locations. That's crazy. But if energy is in the state of infinity, there are no boundaries, no here to differentiate from there, no sense of area. Energy in infinity means energy uniformly extended without limit. It has no beginning, no end, and no location. It is conscious force with fundamental primal power of existence without form. A state of infinite being. That's crazy. It has no beginning, no end, no location. It is a conscious force, the fundamental primal power of existence without form, a state of infinite being. Energy in infinity is said to be completely at rest, and therefore cannot generate holograms so long as it remains utterly inactive. So I'm hearing the divine feminine is completely at rest and is just the experience of infinity and all that is, and transcends all of time and space. And we have been boxed into these little mortal flesh vessels to experience this little loop here, is what I'm getting. That is what I'm getting. I don't know if that's what y'all are getting, but that's what I'm getting. Energy in infinity is said to be... It retains its inherent capacity for consciousness in that it can receive and passively perceive holograms generated by energy in motion out in the various dimensions which make up the created universe, but it cannot be perceived by consciousness operating in the active universe. Interesting. It retains its inherent capacity for consciousness in that it can receive and passively perceive holograms generated by energy in motion out in the various dimensions which make up the created universe, but it cannot be perceived by the consciousness operating in the active universe, which is us in these flesh vessels. Energy in this state of inactivity or inactive infinity is termed by physicists as energy in its absolute state, or simply the absolute. Between the absolute and the material universe in which we experience our physical existence are various intervening dimensions to which human consciousness in altered states of being may gain access. Oh, thank you for the awards. Thank you. I just saw that little thingy pop up. Theoretically, human consciousness may continue to expand the horizons of its perceptual capability until it reaches the dimension of the absolute, at which point perception stops because the absolute generates no holograms of or about itself. Human consciousness may continue to expand the horizons of its perceptual capability until it reaches the dimension of the absolute, of energetic infinity, at which point perception stops because the absolute generates no holograms of or about itself. There's no ego, there's no stories, there's no past. Thank you for the award. There's just nothing but is. It is the absolute energy of everything. And we are in it all, right here, right now, in this moment together. 19, intervening dimensions. We're only on page 13 out of 19, by the way. We're not even halfway there. Since the absolute is conscious energy in infinity, i.e. without boundaries, it occupies every dimension to include the time-space dimension in which we have our physical existence, but cannot perceive time-space dimension, but cannot perceive it. It overlays everything, as do many of the intervening gradients or dimensions through which the energies of the universe pass on their way to and from their home in the state of infinity, the absolute. To enter these intervening dimensions, human consciousness must focus with such intense coherence that the frequency of the energy pattern which compromises that consciousness, i.e. the brainwave output, can accelerate to the point where the resulting frequency pattern, if displayed on an oscilloscope, would look virtually like a solid line. So, to travel dimensions, we have to focus that laser beam of energy that's 1 billion times more powerful than the sun that we have. And it makes a straight line of frequency pattern. A solid line. That is insane. Do y'all realize how powerful our fucking minds are for that? 1 billion times more powerful than the sun. Thank you for the award. Let's see, displayed on, oh no, where achievement of this state of altered consciousness sets the stage for perception of non-space dimensions because of the operation of a principle in physics known as Planck's distance. Achievement of this state of altered consciousness sets the stage for perception of non-time-space dimensions. Hello, we can meditate into non-time-space and connect to the absolute of everything. This is an aspect of quantum mechanics which applies to the fact that any oscillating frequency, such as a brainwave, reaches 2 points of complete rest, which constitute the boundaries of each individual oscillation, i.e. movement up or down, like our brain does when it activates with that energy and the energetic loop. any oscillating frequency. Without these points of rest, an oscillating wave pattern would be impossible, since the points of rest are required to permit the energy to change direction and thus continue vibrating between rigid limits. But it is also true that when, for an infinitely brief instant, that energy reaches one of its 2 points of rest and it clicks out of time-space and joins infinity. That critical step out of time-space occurs when the speed of the oscillation drops below 10 to the negative 33 power centimeters per second, which is Planck's distance. To use the words of Bentov, quantum mechanics tell us that when distances go below Planck's distance, which is 10 to the negative 33 centimeters, we enter, in effect, a new world. Wild. To return to our case in point, the human consciousness wave pattern reaches such high frequency that the pattern of click-outs comes so close together that there is virtual continuity in it. Then a portion of that consciousness is actually postulated to establish and maintain its information collection function in those dimensions located between time-space and the absolute. Thus, as the almost continuous click-out pattern establishes itself in the continuous phase at speeds below Planck's distance, but before reaching the state of total rest, human consciousness passes through the looking glass of time-space after the fashion of Alice beginning her journey into Wonderland. Y'all? The gateway experience, with its associated hemisync technique, is apparently designed, if used systematically and patiently, to enable human consciousness to establish a coherent pattern of perception in those dimensions where speeds below Planck's distance apply. This holds true irrespective of whether the individual is exercising his consciousness while in his physical body, or whether he is doing so after having separated that consciousness from the physical body, i.e. the so-called out-of-body state mentioned earlier. I think I'm going to have to make this into 2 parts. Oh my gosh, this is insane. 20. The subatomic particles. The behavior of subatomic particles provides an interesting example of the phenomena of clicking out, as discussed in the preceding paragraphs. In an article prepared for the Science Digest magazine, Dr. John Gleedman mentions the way in which subatomic particles communicate with each other once their energy fields become entrained as a result of colliding with each other. The communication concerned is, of course, postulated to be occurring during the click-out phase in the oscillation of the energy fields comprising the subatomic particles concerned. It is this cause which accounts for the cross-communication at which, in terms of time-space velocities, would seem to involve speeds in excess of light. In reality, Einstein's theory of relativity is not being invalidated, but rather the communication concerned is taking place outside the dimension of time-space, to which the theory of relativity is strictly confined. Specifically, Dr. Gleedman tells us, quantum theory postulates a kind of long-range Siamese twin effect whenever 2 subatomic particles collide and then go their different ways. Even when particles are halfway across the universe from each other, it says they instantaneously respond to each other's actions. Like I was talking about, that weird, like, 5th, 6th sense that we get when we know people that we love are hurt, or something's wrong, or something's right, even. And in doing so, they violate relativity's ban on faster-than-light velocities. Indeed, regarding attempts to quantify what is known about the behavior of energy in dimensions apparently outside of time-space, Bentov speaks about courageous physicists who are working on hypothetical particles called tachyons, which can move at speeds higher than light. The speed of tachyons starts just above the speed of light and ranges all the way to infinite velocities. 21. Dimensions in between. Now that we have postulated the legitimacy of the assertion that energy forms which compose consciousness can move beyond the time-space dimension, we need to turn our attention to the energy forms which inhabit those dimensions between time-space and the absolute. In doing so, we may better perceive the form that reality assumes when we encounter it in those immediate dimensions. And then let me show y'all. It shows a graph of the absolute and infinity, and then the clicked out portion of oscillating energy traversing intermediate dimensions with Planck's distance, and the portion of oscillating energy pattern in time-space. So it's talking about how you can go out of time-space on either end of the spectrum, which is really powerful, I think. The absolute of infinity and all that is. In this context, Bentov tells us that the causal relationship between events breaks down. Movements become jerky rather than smooth. Time and space may become grainy or chunky. So we're having lag. We're getting lag IRL. Perhaps a piece of space can be traversed by a particle of matter in any direction without necessarily being synchronized with a piece of time. In short, a pair of events will occur in either time or space, the pair not being connected causally, but by a random fluctuation. What Bentov means is that inside the dimension of time-space, where both concepts apply in a generally uniform way, there is a proportional relationship between them. A certain space can be covered by energy moving in either particle or waveform in a certain time, assuming a specific velocity virtually anywhere in the time-space universe. The relationship is neat and predictable. However, in the intermediate dimensions beyond time-space, the limitations imposed on energy to put it in a state of oscillating motion are not uniform as they are in our physical universe. A myriad of various distortions and incongruities are thus likely to be encountered, such that our nice, neat assumptions concerning the relationship between time and space, as we know it in this dimension, do not apply. But even more important, access is opened to both the past and the future when the dimension of current time-space is left behind. So we can time travel. If we can connect to the absolute and transcend outside of time-space, we can time travel. We can connect with the past, the present, the future, because it all exists in the same state. It's all connected to the same thing at the core. It's all the same energy. Past, present, and future are all interconnected. It's all that Mobius strip I was telling y'all about earlier. It doesn't stop. It doesn't start. It doesn't end. It doesn't begin. It just is. It just cosmically is. 22. Special status out-of-body experience. Although human consciousness can, with enough practice, move beyond the dimension of time-space and interface with other energy systems in other dimensions, human consciousness can move beyond the dimension of time-space and interface with other systems in other dimensions. The entire process is appreciably enhanced if that consciousness can be detached in large measure from the physical body before such interface is attempted. So if we can get out of our body, we can interact with energy and frequency outside of us much easier. Like, we are meant to be part of that cosmic experience of the absolute and all of the energy that is, and not this meaty flesh prison that's keeping everything stuck and congested and impacted and distorted and manipulated. Once an individual becomes proficient in the technique of out-of-body movement and then reaches the point where he is able to break out of time-space while out of his body, he gains the advantage of clicking out part of his enhanced consciousness while starting from a base located much closer to the dimensions with which he wishes to communicate. In other words, since he is starting from a point much higher up, to use an analogy from the time-space context, that part of his consciousness involved in clicking out will have that much more time to interact in dimensions beyond time-space, because less time is required to traverse the intervening layers. So whenever you're hitting that peak up or peak down, where you have that little point of clicking out and into the absolute, if you start, rather than having to transverse all the way through that part where you're clicked in and then all the way through that clicked out part, you can just be almost automatically at the top of that wave and have like the longest time oscillating inside of that energy with the absolute and the experience of these other dimensions and this out of body, out of time space experience. Let's see. Moreover, once the individual is able to project his consciousness beyond time space, that consciousness would logically tend to entrain its frequency output with the new energy environment to which it is exposed, therein greatly enhancing the extent to which the individual's altered consciousness may be further modified to achieve a much heightened point of focus and a much refined oscillating pattern. As a result, a self-reinforcing process should ensue whereby the further conscious in the out-of-body state can be projected beyond the time-space dimension. The more its level of energy output would be enhanced, thus promoting the potential for still further travel. That's crazy. The tentative conclusion to be drawn is that the out-of-body state may be regarded as an extremely effective way of accelerating the process of enhancing consciousness and of interfacing with dimensions beyond time-space, if achieving and exploiting the out-of-body experience as opposed to concentrating his full efforts on expanding his consciousness exclusively from a physical base, the former would appear to promise much faster and more impressive successes than does the latter. 22. Absolute in perspective. It may be helpful at this point to pause and recap the major aspects of our intellectual journey from time-space to the realm of the absolute. This is some insane shit, y'all. I am like in awe of this whole 17 pages so far. We have spoken at some length concerning the incredibly complex hologram which is created by the intersection of energy patterns generated by the totality of all dimensions of the universe, time-space included. We have noted that our minds constitute energy fields which interact with various aspects of this hologram to deduce information which is ultimately processed through the left hemisphere of our brains to reduce it to a form that we employ for the process we call thinking. We have implied that this hologram is the finite embodiment in active energy form of the infinite consciousness of the absolute. It is the title we assigned to that vast pool of energy in a state of perfect rest over which the physical universe is layered and from whence it comes. Incidentally, to describe this, Bentov uses the analogy of a very deep sea, comparing the still depths of the sea to the dimension of the absolute while assigning the storm-tossed waves above to represent the physical universe with which we are familiar. The slightly agitated currents of the sea, to be found in between the turbulent surface and the totally still depths, represent energy in the process of either going into rest, i.e. approaching infinity, or coming out of rest. That just makes me feel even more like there's some really weird shit hidden in our oceans that we're meant to go find and reconnect with on like an energetic level, like Atlantis, Tartaria, mermaids, sirens, megalodons, the bloop, the blob, every single part of this. Like, there's something to the ocean, and why NASA stopped studying it. I don't think they actually stopped studying it because none of these government agencies or military agencies or sketchy three-letter agencies or whatever, none of them ever truly stop the weird stuff. They just like rebrand and greenwash and make us think they're doing better, or they cover it up and classify it, or they give it a weird name that seems inconspicuous. They never stop the bad stuff. They just make us think that we've stopped the bad stuff. Or they increase the propaganda and the psyops so that we stop questioning that they're even doing bad stuff in the beginning. 24, from Big Bang to Taurus. Working from the widely accepted Big Bang theory, Bentov presents a conceptual model to depict the process of time-space evolution, the relative position of the universal hologram. Girl. Oh my god, this cat. She will scratch up my carpet if I don't let her in. Come on. Come here, Stinky. You're not getting back out. You can go out the window if you wanna. She could figure it out. She'd paint him up, but I love her. But, oh my god, she literally has scratched a hole in the carpet because she scratches at my door if I don't leave it open for her, because she's a butthead. You're a spoiled little brat. You're lucky you're cute. Oh, blow out my candle. That hologram is often called a torus because it is thought to have the overall shape of an immense, self-contained spiral. So the universal hologram is a torus, a self-contained spiral. Basing his thesis on recent studies concerning the distribution of quasars, quasi-stellar objects, and operating on the premise that in the universe, smaller processes tend to be mirror images of larger ones. What did I tell you? I was literally just talking about that earlier, where I told y'all that all of these cosmic processes are just macro mirrors of what's happening on the micro. Or in the reverse, we are mirrors. We are micro mirrors of what is happening on the macro. In the same way that our blood vessels look like lightning strikes, and the veins on trees and leaves are the same as people, and all of that. It's all exactly the same because it's all the same energy. It's all the absolute. We're just at our one little spot inside of time space on this little Mobius strip of the infinity of everything that is. I.e., the pattern of electrons around the nucleus of an atom mirrors the way planets orbit their suns, and so on. Bentov postulates the following scenario. Taking his cue from the observed capability of quasars to eject enormously concentrated beams of matter from their interiors in a controlled, non-concentric version of the Big Bang, he envisages a similar process occurring in the generation of the universe. Wait, so quasars, the generation of the universe, and the way our own energy projects in that laser beam of focused energy is all the same. The micro mirrors the macro mirrors the micro. Like, hello? We mirror quasars. Hello? If that's not the coolest shit ever, we are stardust. We are part of the entire cosmic scale. Noting that those galaxies located to the north of our own galaxy are moving away faster than those located to the south, and that those to the east and west are demonstrably more distant, Bentov regards this as substantive evidence that the jet of matter which expanded into our universe has turned back upon itself, eventually forming an ovoid or egg shape. The universe is a cosmic egg. This is the cosmic cum shot I was talking about yesterday. We are an egg, and the universe, all of the energy, the absolute of time-space is flowing around us. All swimming around the cosmic egg. He sees matter in our universe entering the ovoid pattern following ejection from a nucleus composed of extremely compressed energy through a white hole. We are a cosmic cum shot. At the end of its trip to the far end of the ovoid, he sees it departing via a black hole. Energy getting birthed. Is that literally how our consciousness comes into our body? Like, what's the word? Not reinvention. Reincarnation. Like reincarnation style. Is that the light at the end of the tunnel? We're literally just going through the cosmic consciousness of this brain. We're going through the jet stream of energy and out the black hole. I think I'm cooking, y'all. I told y'all I haven't been wrong yet. And everything in my energy, in my intuition feels like it's right now as I've been reading this entire thing. I feel like I'm connected to that source energy. Whenever I delve into all of this stuff and start questioning the narrative, because none of it makes sense. If you think logically for like 0.2 seconds, none of what we've been fed from any angle makes sense. And everywhere you look, there's just more and more proof. Did you get that from your crystals? No, I don't really use crystals. I got that from my intuition and the cosmic consciousness we are all connected to according to this paper that I have been reading off. Like, all of this is so insanely connected, and I cannot stress that enough to you guys. It is all energy, it is all connected. It's all constantly cycling around different points in time, space, but it's all the same energy that is. That's why we can connect to all of it. That's why we can transcend it. That's why we can connect to each other. That's why all of it. Let's see, where to go? In such a model, time is observed to be a measure of the change which occurs as energy evolves into new, more complex forms as it progresses along the distance from the white hole side of the nucleus around the shell of this cosmic egg until it enters the black hole. In other words, as energy expelled from infinity and confined within limits by the consciousness of the absolute achieves form and motion following the ejection from the white hole at the top of the egg. Time begins as a measure of the cadence of this evolutionary movement as reality goes around the shell of the egg on its journey to the black hole at the far end. 25. Our place in time. The observed distribution of galaxies suggests that our particular universe is located near the top of the egg, at the point where matter begins to fall back on itself, thus explaining the reason why the galaxies to the north are seen to be moving away more rapidly as they are caught up in the downturn of the stream of matter towards the far end of the cosmic egg. Layered over this cosmic egg is the absolute, which sustains the radiating nucleus from the original jet of matter issued forth. As the stream of matter moves around the ovoid towards its destination at the black hole, where it will be reabsorbed into the radiating nucleus and then the absolute, it generates the interference pattern within the cosmic egg, which constitutes the universal hologram or torus. And I'm going to show y'all. It shows this first photo is a jet of matter being emitted out of a quasar, which is exactly how I imagine that energy comes out of our pineal gland whenever we're meditating, whenever we're having that focused laser beam energy burst that this told us is over 1 billion times more powerful than the sun. That is what we are doing on an energetic level. But we are more powerful than this. Our human bodies are more powerful than literal quasars and the actual sun that sustains all life on this planet as we know it. And then figure 2 says it shows the universal hologram. It is a diagram of the cosmic egg. It shows the direction of time-space evolving. The black hole, the white hole in the middle, the nucleus, and the point where the flow of time-space turns towards opposite poles of the ovoid, or the egg. So that's what our universe looks like. Doesn't that look like an egg to you? Or like an egg and a brain? It's like an egg that's trying to reproduce, like it's trying to split. It's trying to give birth to something that's in the middle right there. Like we're literally thinking ourselves into, I think this is honestly that shift to 5D that we're going to have. I think our universal hologram is going to birth itself something new. So that looks like a brain and the hemispheres that are synced with all the brain matter around it. Because it even talks about our universe bouncing and our energy bouncing and the way our brain starts bouncing and creating what I think is that piezoelectricity that I was telling y'all about earlier. It's all connected. And then this third one is a stylized rendition of a simple torus, which they say is all of this energetic field. Which, you know what that reminds me of? That looks like a double helix, like a DNA strand. Our universe is encoded within us in our genetic material. That's why they talk about ancestral memory and stuff like that, and genetic curses and things, is because it's literally the entire universe's memory and energy encoded inside of us. I don't think any of it's junk DNA. I don't think any of it is truly dormant. I think it's been purposely put to sleep and made to be dormant and manipulated into being asleep because they want to affect us negatively and keep us in these lower vibrational states of the fear and the anxiety and the anger and the worry and the class warfare where we're infighting amongst ourselves so that we don't realize the universe is a hologram and we don't need to have stupid 9-to-5s and capitalism isn't the only way to exist because we live in a fucking hologram and we can make whatever we want happen at will, whenever, wherever, however, all the time. If we all realize that constantly, that we are the creators of our own reality and we can have whatever experience we want, we wouldn't be going and supporting these politicians. We wouldn't be going to our 9 to 5s. We wouldn't be upholding all of these systems of power and abuse and things like that. None of it, all of it would collapse overnight, basically. Crazy. Since the torus is being simultaneously generated by matter in all of the various phases of time, it reflects the development of the universe in the past, present, and future as it would be seen from our particular perspective in one phase of time. Kind of like how we see dying stars and stuff like that. By reflecting on this model, it becomes possible to see how human consciousness brought to a sufficiently altered, focused state could obtain information concerning the past, present, and future, since they all exist in the universal hologram simultaneously. In the case of the future, because all of the consequences of the past and present can be seen coming together in the hologram, such that the future can be predicted or seen with total accuracy. Yeah, Project Looking Glass. They know this shit. They've known this shit. I talk about this so much. I just made a TikTok about this yesterday, about this exact phrasing, because what the fuck do you mean the future can be predicted or seen with total accuracy, because everything is just fucking advanced pattern recognition? That's why they wanted us gate kids. They were seeing who was energetically connected, who had pattern recognition, who's locked into this, who can tap into the absolute, who sees beyond the veil, who just understands it inherently in a way that can't really be trained. The same way you can't train someone to love or force someone to love. You can't force them to connect to this altered state of consciousness. You can try with the gateway tapes and stuff like that, but like you have to, you just have that connection. I don't even know how to put it properly into words, but I hope that makes sense. Moreover, it is possible to see how the implosion of energy patterns would cross and recross to create an incredibly complex 4-dimensional hologram or torus in spiral shape, in reflection of the multidimensional developing pattern of evolution. All of the movements of the energies which comprise the universe leave their mark and hence tell their story throughout time. All of the movement of energies which comprise the universe leave their mark. That's that ancestral energy, their ancestral memory that I'm telling you all about. It's all in our physical DNA. Our bodies, our minds, our vessels remember all of it. Every single part of it, even if it's been covered up and lied about and demonized. We remember the truth in here, in all of this, in the intuition, in the downloads, and that connection to source and the absolute, and that experience that we're able to tap into outside of time and space that it keeps talking about, where we're out of this projection and this simulation and we are just one with the oneness. 26. Quality of consciousness. We noted earlier that the out-of-body state involves projection of a major portion of the energy pattern that represents human consciousness so that it may move either freely throughout the terrestrial sphere for purposes of information acquisition or into other dimensions outside of time-space, perhaps to interact with other forms of consciousness within the universe. So you can either acquire information or you can interact with other forms of consciousness and other beings. Are y'all picking up what they're putting down there? Soft launching some UAPs and UFOs and other dimensional, extra-dimensional beings, or extraterrestrial, which I always thought was funny wording because that literally means excess, extra land. Not from the sky, from the land. Makes me think of like the lizard people and the reptilians, and just like they're in the earth. They didn't leave this plane. They're here. They were here first, just like the Native Americans and all of the people of color. They were here first. We just labeled them something alien, an outsider, and that's why we even use the term alien now for people of color. Like, oh, you're alien, you're outside, you're extra, you're not associated with the cosmic collective connectedness. Consciousness is the organizing and sustaining principle that provides that provides the impetus and guidance to bring and keep energy in motion within a given set of parameters, so that a specific reality will result. That's crazy. So it's like basically your stories in your past are keeping you in that same pattern where you're kind of creating it yourself based on the stories in the past that you have. Huh. When consciousness reaches a state of sophistication in which it can perceive itself, its own hologram, it reaches the point of self-cognition. Human beings have this form of elevated consciousness, as does the absolute, but in the case of the latter, it is a function of energy and its associated quality of consciousness in infinity, omniscience and omnipotence in perceptual unity. When energy returns to a state of total rest within the absolute, it returns to the continuum of consciousness in the pool of limitless, timeless perception that resides there. Thus, the more complex an energy system in the material state, the more consciousness it possesses to maintain its reality. Our consciousness, therefore, is that differentiated aspect of the universal consciousness which resides within the absolute. It accounts for the organization of the energy patterns which constitute our physical body, but is distinctly separate from and superior to it. Since consciousness exists quite apart from and outside of reality, beyond the bounds of time-space, it, like the absolute, has neither beginning nor end. So consciousness is infinite. Energy can neither be created nor destroyed. Reality has both a beginning and an end because it is bound within time-space. But the fundamental quantum of energy and its associated consciousness is eternal. When reality ends, its constituent energy simply returns to infinity in the absolute. Wow. 27. Consciousness in perspective. Having ascertained that human consciousness is able to separate from physical reality and interact with other intelligences in other dimensions within the universe, and that it is both eternal and destined for the ultimate return to the absolute, we are faced with the question, so what happens then? Since memory is a function of consciousness and therefore enjoys the same eternal character as the consciousness which accounts for its existence, it must be admitted that when consciousness returns to the absolute, it brings with it all of the memories it has accumulated through experience in reality. We are existence experiencing itself from every single angle possible. And then it all conglomerates and remembers. Like I said, our DNA remembers everything. Our ancestral memory remembers everything. The absolute remembers everything. It is all like a massive cloud storage server. The return of consciousness to the absolute does not imply an extinction of the separate entity with which the consciousness organized and sustained in reality. Rather, it suggests a differentiated consciousness which merges with and participates in the universal consciousness and infinity of the absolute, without losing the separate identity and accumulated self-knowledge which its memories confer upon it. So what I'm hearing here is that when we die, our energy connects to the absolute, but we retain ourselves and our memories and our free will, basically, and our separation from it. We remember that we are separate. So there's nothing to fear when we die because we just continue. We just connect more to the absolute and exist more outside of time-space. We're not in the universal hologram in the same way. We are vibrating. We just basically vibrate in a different dimension. We don't actually die. We just change forms. And then it shows, which is just a different version of that universal torus with the white hole and the nucleus and the galactic north and south and our galaxy. So look where we're at in like the cosmic brain. We're that dot up at the top. It's the black hole is down at the bottom, and then our known universe is right there. Also looks like a heart, but doesn't that look like two cells splitting to you guys? That's our known universe. Does that not look like two fucking cells starting to split apart and grow into two living beings, like a yin and a yang, like a masculine and a feminine on a divine scale, like a cosmic scale? Ooh, I zoomed way out. What it does lose is the capability for generation of independent thought holograms, since that can only be done by energy and motion. In other words, it retains the power... Why is my nose so itchy today? It retains the power to perceive, but loses the power of will or choice. In exchange, however, this consciousness participates in the all-knowing infinite continuum of consciousness, which is a characteristic of energy in the ever-presence. Oh, interesting. So you do become part of that collective energy consciousness, and you do lose your will and choice. So free will is a very human thing. That's why we come here to experience it, is because we can only experience free will when we are detached from the absolute and the cosmic consciousness. Otherwise, it's all just the same hive mind doing everything. So we purposely came here to detach and experience from all of these different forms. Consequently, it is accurate to observe that when a person experiences the out-of-body state, he is in fact projecting that eternal spark of consciousness and memory, which constitutes the ultimate source of his identity, to let it play in and learn from dimensions both inside and outside the time-space world, in which his physical component currently enjoys a short period of reality. That's crazy. That's basically what I just said, where we're getting to play in these physical bodies. 28, gateway method. Having put the gateway experience in context by postulating a structural outline of how and why it seems to work, and having shown what it is designed to achieve, the time has come to examine the specific techniques which comprise the gateway training process. These techniques are designed to enable the user of the gateway tapes to manipulate the high energy state, which can be achieved if the user continues to work with the tapes over a period of time. The amount of time required to reach advanced energy states and to fully exploit the techniques varies with the individual. So does scalar interference and how all of that works. They mentioned that as well. All of the energy-based stuff is very unique to you and how you experience and interfere with energy. It's very interesting, very individual, very fascinating how unique it is. The sensitivity of his nervous system, his general state of mind, and the extent to which he may have previously developed facility in related techniques, such as transcendental meditation, are all pertinent factors affecting the speed at which he may expect to progress. The gateway process begins by teaching the individual participant to isolate extraneous concerns in a visualization device called an energy conversation box. Now the participant is introduced to a method of encouraging his mind and body to strive to achieve a state of resonance through utterance of a single tone, a monotonous, protracted humming sound that sets up a feeling of vibration, particularly in the head, which is again making me think of piezoelectricity and the way our bones are crystal conductors and receivers and stuff like that. And the the ohm and everything, which is also an energy thing, like volts and amps and amplitude and stuff like that, or whatever. You know what I mean. He engages in this resonant tuning, as it is called, by humming along with a chorus of such sounds that are contained on the gateway tape, which also makes me think of bells and like group chanting and Gregorian chants and stuff like that, and collective singing and how the slaves used to sing, and energy harvesting, gathering, and ritualistic stuff like that, for good and for bad, of all kinds of human cults and societies and cultures across all time, space, and dimensions. Do y'all hear the ice cream truck in the background? I was like, am I tripping? That's like the SpongeBob ice cream bar ice cream truck. He just drives around in his little van, just... That brings me so much joy. Do y'all hear that? That's so silly. Following this, the participant is exposed to the gateway affirmation, and it is encouraged to repeat it to himself as he hears it repeated on the tape. This affirmation is a statement to the effect that the individual realizes that he is more than merely a physical body, and that he deeply desires to expand his consciousness. It's all in the affirmation and repetition. 29. Hemisync introduced. After that, he is exposed for the first time to the hemisync sound frequencies and is encouraged to focus on and develop a perception of and appreciation for those feelings which accompany the synchronization of brainwaves that results. Next comes the technique of progressive and systematic physical relaxation, while the hemisync frequencies are expanded to include additional forms of pink and white noise designed to put the physical body at the virtual threshold of sleep, as well as to calm the left hemisphere of the mind while raising the right hemisphere to a state of heightened attentiveness. Once all of this is achieved, the participant is invited to envisage creation of an energy balloon comprised of an energy flow beginning at the center of the top of the head and extending down in all directions to the feet, which the visual I'm getting looks almost exactly like the universal hologram of the universe I just showed you guys, and also like our own energetic auric fields. It all seems to be that like ballooning, protective, cocooning, maternal womb-like egg spherical embrace of energy. The energy involved in this flow then proceeds up through the body and back out into the balloon pattern again. The energy balloon, which sets up a pattern very reminiscent of the cosmic egg discussed earlier, told y'all, not only enhances bodily energy flow and encourages early achievement of a suitable resonance state, but it is also designed to provide protection against conscious entities possessing lower energy levels, which the participant might encounter in the event that he achieves an out-of-body state. Okay, did y'all catch that? We're gonna read that bit again, because what the fuck? The energy balloon is also designed to provide protection against conscious entities possessing lower energy levels, which the participant might encounter in the event he achieves an out-of-body state. So the CIA is telling the army that if you do this out-of-body travel shit, you can get body jacked by lower dimensional entities. It's admitting to the existence of lower dimensional entities and saying they will carjack your shit if you leave your doors unlocked in the Bronx. These entities are gonna hijack your shit and wear your meat vessel like a fun little birthday suit. What? Is that how we get possession? Like possession? Or does that also, I wonder if that also can be tied to like depression and stuff like that, and anger, and these, in a much less severe way, still be responsible for these lower vibrational feelings that we get, where it's not a full-on possession, but it's more like a parasitic attachment. I'm cooking with something here too, where it's making us feel those energies and experiences that are outside of that connection with the absolute. Okay. It serves a precautionary purpose in the unlikely event that the participant's first out-of-body experience involves direct projection outside the terrestrial sphere. So it's saying that your first out-of-body with this shit can literally put you just kind of like outside time-space, chilling, doing whatever. With whoever, whenever, wherever. What? Hello? Like, that's actually crazy. Okay, we have 7 more pages. I gotta pee really quick. I will be right back. Give me like 30 seconds. I want to take the world's fastest Speedy Gonzalez little pee break, because I'm gonna burst at the bladder if I don't, but I want to keep yapping to y'all, and I don't want to end my live. I'll be right back. Told y'all, Speedy Gonzales. I'm back. I'm fast like the wind. Can't catch me, can't touch this. Where did my computer go? Oh, God. All of my cords are funky monkey, little chunky. Okay, let's see. Where were we? Alright. Oh my gosh, I hope y'all are excited about all this as I am. I feel like I'm learning so freaking much. Like, this is actually insane. Advanced techniques. Having reached Focus 10, the participant is now ready to endeavor to achieve a state of sufficiently expanded awareness to begin actually interacting with dimensions beyond those associated with his experience of physical reality. This state is called Focus 12 and involves conscious efforts in his part, while additional forms of pink and white noise enter the sound stream being directed into his ears from the gateway tape. Once the participant has achieved this state of greatly expanded awareness, he is ready to begin employing a series of specific techniques or tools, as the Monroe Institute characterizes them, which enable him to manipulate his newly found expanded awareness to obtain practical, useful feedback of value for promoting self-discovery and personal growth. Those intuitive downloads that I was telling y'all about. The specific techniques involved are described individually below. A. Problem solving. This technique involves identifying fundamental problems which the individual wishes to see solved, fulfilling his expanded awareness with his perception of these problems, and then projecting them out into the universe. In this way, the individual enlists the assistance of what the Monroe Institute calls his higher self, in other words, his expanded consciousness, to interact with the universal hologram to obtain the information required to solve the problem. This approach may be used to solve personal difficulties, technical problems in the realm of physics, mathematics, etc., practical administrative problems, and so on. Responses to the problem-solving technique may be received almost immediately, but often come based on developing intuition over the next 2 to 3 days. So they're not exactly immediate usually. Frequently, the response comes in the form of a sudden, holistic perception in which the individual suddenly finds he simply knows the answer in all of its ramifications and completely in context, sometimes without even being able to put his newly found perception into words, at least initially. All of these intuitive downloads that make no sense, where you shouldn't understand, you shouldn't be able to connect all of the pieces of information, you shouldn't know that, you shouldn't be able to see that, you shouldn't be able to get that, you shouldn't be able to connect that, you shouldn't be able to feel that. But you do, because you're connected to something bigger and more interconnected than all of us, because it is all of us at the core. In some cases, the response may even arrive in the form of visual symbols, which the individual will see with his mind while he is in the focus state 12, and he will have to interpret after he returns to normal consciousness. Which is also matching up with that TikTok I made the other day about how everything is energy, and the FFTs that I made of the crop circles and all of these old world buildings, just showing how the energy radiates out from all of it, and pairs with the experience that I had in the red light booth at my gym, where I had my eyes closed and the red light was literally creating this, almost like those trippy visuals that they used to put on like early YouTube videos, or like, was it the Xbox music videos, where it would just show you like the inside of a kaleidoscope almost, where it was just energy constantly like moving and flowing, but it's in like fractal geometric configurations. It was that same, I was seeing that, but it was all this like pink and yellowy hues of just geometric flowing. There was no, it was just very loopy, very flowy. There was no stagnancy. It was all just constant, continual movement and like coherence that I could see in that. And I've seen it every single time since. Every single time I go in that red light machine, I have the same experience, and it's only been getting stronger. And I think it's because I'm tapping into part of whatever this is. I'm seeing part of it. All of the way that the light interacts with us is so important, and I think it was connected to the pyramids somehow, because it just makes me think to the Pink Floyd album where it shows the pyramids just diffracting light from just being light into the full spectrum, the full rainbow spectrum of visible light and invisible light, that very clearly, according to all of their research, directly affects our entire being and our perception of this hologram and this physical reality. It's all light, it's all energy, it's all sound, it's all frequency, it's all vibration. And the light has a direct impact on that through the flicker rates, through the heat of it, through everything, through the symbols that we see in it, through the way that our brain interprets it. It's all just different information that's processing at like Mach fucking speed, basically. B, patterning. This technique involves the use of consciousness to achieve desired objectives in the physical, emotional, or intellectual sphere. It involves concentration on the desired objective while in focus 12 state, extension of the individual's perception of that objective into the whole expanded consciousness, and its projection into the universe with the intention that the desired objective is already a matter of established achievement which is destined to be realized within the time frame specified. This particular methodology is based on the belief that the thought patterns generated by our consciousness in a state of expanded awareness create holograms which represent the situation we desire to bring about, and in doing so establish the basis for actual realization of that goal. So we are, again, it just keeps telling us we are creating our own realities with our stories, our pasts, all of the things that we hold in our egos, and all of the loops, the open cognition loops, the open thought loops, the open stress cycles. All of that is constantly projecting. We are projecting that outwards as the creators of our own reality. And we are the ones manifesting all of these different experiences for ourselves. It truly is, the world is not happening to us, it is happening for us, and we are the ones making it happen. We are working with our higher selves, that the versions of us that exist in the absolute, that is all of it, and it's all just pattern recognition and energy resonance. I totally lost my place there. I keep doing that. I keep getting on these little asides that feel so important and just like critical, and I love where they're taking me, and then I lose my spot. We're just going to start back up there. It involves concentration on the desired objective while in a focus 12 state, extension of the individual's perception of that objective into the whole expanded consciousness, and its projection into the universe with the intention that the desired objective is already a matter of established achievement which is destined to be realized within the time frame specified. So gaslighting yourself into manifesting, basically. This particular methodology is based on the belief that the thought patterns generated by our consciousness in a state of expanded awareness create holograms which represent the situation we desire to bring about, and in doing so establish the basis for actual realization of that goal. Once the thought-generated hologram of the sought-after objective is established in the universe, it becomes an aspect of reality which interacts with the universal hologram to bring about the desired objective, which might not, under normal circumstances, ever occur. In other words, the technique of patterning recognizes the fact that since consciousness is the source of all reality, our thoughts have the power to influence the development of our reality in time-space as it applies to us, if those thoughts can be projected with adequate intensity. Consciousness is the source of all reality. Our thoughts have the power to influence the development of reality in time-space as it applies to us, if those thoughts can be projected with adequate intensity. We can literally manifest anything we are capable of thinking of. That's why we get desires, we get urges, we get jealous, we get wanting things, is because we're meant to manifest it. We're meant to project it and experience it physically in our external reality because we have the power to. We just need the right intensity and the right repetition of the right brain waves. And then we will enter that energetic field and pull from the absolute, work with our highest selves, and manifest that into our physical fucking reality. However, the more complicated the objective sought, and the more radically it departs from the reality sphere to radically it departs from our current reality, the more time the universal hologram will need to reorient our reality sphere to accommodate our desires. So the more uncomfortable it makes you, the more different it is from everything that you perceive and everything that you're constantly telling yourself, because you're doing those constant comparisons, because that's how your brain works, is just running those comparisons and spotting the difference. If you're trying to spot a huge difference gap, it just takes more time. There's lag. That's all it is. It's literally just universal lag. Monroe trainers caution against attempting to force the pace of this process because the individual could succeed in dislocating his existing reality with drastic consequences. I think that ties to psychotic episodes and manic episodes and like schizophrenic breaks and things like that. I think you're processing all of that information and you're not funneling it properly. You're not grounding properly. You dislocate from your reality and you get trapped kind of somewhere weird in the loop of time-space, where you're not quite in time and you're not quite in space, but you're not quite in the absolute, and you're not quite in the collective, and you're not quite in the higher self, but you're also not quite fully in the flesh vessel that's running all of these programs. Whoo! Baby! Ooh, I need to get that in front of like a doctor or something. Hello? That feels so important. I feel like if you can reconnect with yourself and get yourself reoriented in time space into the proper reality, somehow, some way, somewhere, I think that, I don't want to say that can be cured, but like, I mean, I spoke about it earlier. I genuinely think that every single illness that humans face can be cured. Most of it is just symptoms of zoochosis and living under extreme end-stage capitalism. You're not depressed, you just live in a society that fucking sucks and is built to specifically drain you at every single angle. You're not anxious, you're just having weird thoughts constantly projected through your screens and the algorithm and the scalar interference and the LEDs that's setting your physical body into hyper-awareness survival mode, where you're having like a panic attack all the time and you're trying to fight that with your rational monkey brain. But you can't, because it's constantly triggering your physical body. It's all connected, it's all energy, and it's all manipulated, it's all distorted. C, color breathing. This next technique is called color breathing, and it is designed to use the expanded awareness and highly focused attentiveness associated with the Focus 12 state to imagine various colors in a particularly intense and vivid manner so as to use them to resonate with and in turn activate the body's own energies. And I was just telling y'all about the power I think the different light colors and the different parts of the light spectrum have on our bodies because of that download that I got with the red light machines and the pyramids and the FFTs and the energy readings and everything. We can heal ourselves. We can fully fucking heal ourselves. I genuinely believe. Fundamentally, in terms of practical application, it is a healing technique which is designed to restore the body and to enhance its physical capabilities by balancing, revitalizing, and retuning bodily energy flows. Y'all might want to take some notes on this. Which cause diseases? Yeah, 1,000%. Yeah, all of the diseases are just energetic imbalances. Or loops, like stress cycles that haven't been finished, open thought loops that are just overwhelming your entire energetic field. Oh, okay. It is predicted on the principle that the body's electromagnetic field is capable of altering its resonance patterns so as to entrain energy from the Earth's electrostatic field for its own use. So again, this is, I think, the second time now in this paper, the CIA has talked about us being able to harvest energy from the Earth herself and the Schumann resonance and the absolute and the energy all around us that exists everywhere, all of the time, constantly, and use it to build up our own physical vessels and train our own minds and connect our own energy and strengthen our own abilities. That's what this is. The various colors envisaged in the imagination as part of the technique cue the mind as to which frequencies and what... Was that just a firework? The fuck? Okay. and what specific amplitudes are desired in connection with this entrainment and the subsequent alterations in bodily energy flow patterns. The various colors cue the mind as to which frequencies and amplitude happens. I was right. The color is the key. And that also goes with the subliminal messaging of the marketing and the way that the algorithms work, the LEDs, the strobe lights, the flicker rates, the way that they use like the colors to cue hunger or anger or sadness or hopelessness. They're also targeting different body parts of us and our chakras and our energy fields. They're destabilizing us in different parts, giving us like energy leaks, like poking a hole in a water balloon. That's what I'm getting from that. The color has the capacity to affect the human mind. Oh, that color has the capacity to affect the human mind is well known, and the effectuality of color in certain kinds of healing is demonstrable fact. For example, application of an intense blue light to an area of physical tumescence leads to relatively rapid and easily observable reduction in the swelling, while red and to a lesser extent yellow have quite the opposite effect. Wait a second, I thought red light was supposed to be good for reducing swelling, but this says that red has the opposite effect. So wait, does that mean the red light is doing bad stuff to you? I don't understand. Chime in if y'all understand that better than I do. Oh, it's weird the AI summary is changing with me changing what I'm talking about. That's weird. I don't like that. That means they're listening to all my words. I mean, even all, we already know that. Everything is predictive programming and we're reading and readable and writable. However, in the hemi-sync application of the technique, external light sources are not involved, but rather the mind is the sole agent of the healing and revitalization. So I don't think we need any of these external tools, is what I'm getting from this, is that our minds are the tool. We are the tool. We don't, like frequencies and crystals and things like that help, but more than anything, they're just like a physical anchor for our minds, like a flame for us to focus on, more than something that actually is going to be achieving those results. It's like a placebo. It's like an SSRI instead of just producing your own dopamine, you know, it's like a store-bought. They're like, yeah, you can do it, but like you don't need the red light to do that. Your brain just can do that on its own. It just works that way when it wants to. An extension of ourselves. Yeah, 1000%. D, energy bar tool. Magic wands and enchanted scepters. Okay, CIA. Magic wands and enchanted scepters have been part of the folklore and occult practices of many cultures. Makes me think of the rods with the pine cones on top all over our hieroglyphs and everything. The scepters, staffs, and maces carried by monarchs and high priests alike occur with such frequency in the history of bygone eras to suggest that at the very least these items are aspects of some type of archetypal symbol which the human mind seems to appreciate, perhaps quite subliminally. It also makes me think of, what are those things called? Not maces. They're on like all of our Tartarian old world stuff, but we don't actually know how to use them anymore. And it was a sign, I think it was something the Praetors carried around, or it was like it denoted some form of power, and it looked almost like a scepter, but it had like an axe on it and like sticks or something. It was a really weird looking little tool that they say they didn't ever actually use for anything. They just carried as a ceremonial thing. But it really seems like an energy harvester, conductor, collector of some sort. I really wish I could remember what I'm thinking of. Like a glaive or something. I really can't. If y'all know what I'm thinking about, please put the word down in the comments, because it's literally everywhere. Like, we have statues of it. It's on, I think it might even be on some of the dollar bills, or like really important old documents and photos and stuff like that. Like, it's literally everywhere. The same way the pine cone and the fleur-de-lis and all of these, what is it? Not the Mandela. I can't remember what it's actually called, but the Nazi symbol, how it was something else before the Nazis took it and perverted it, and that symbol is seen basically all around the world. All of these symbols are connected and they hold energy for all of us. I mean, this document literally said it earlier. Crystals, stones, metals are all just a part of us. Yeah, literally, yeah. No, it's got a different name. That's not its original name. The swastika is not its original. It's got something else. It's like an old Buddhist monk thing. It's like super, super ancient. It's a super ancient symbol, and the Nazis just perverted it and made it into this really dirty thing while they were also really weirdly esoterically connected and like really doing some weird studying and experimentation and looking for like the Ark of the Covenant and all of these weird esoteric tools in a really weird way. Like, Hitler was killing a bunch of people, but also doing a bunch of really weird stuff, the same way our own military and government is doing, where we're looting all of these sacred sites like we did in the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, and we're trying to do now with Iran, where we bomb all these old world buildings, we blow up all the temples in Cambodia, we change the power structures, we loot all of the artifacts, we steal them from their original energetic purposes, their harmonic resonance, we burn all the bells, we bury all the bells, we melt them down into fucking bullets to go fight a war. It's all interconnected. I really wish I could remember what that thing is called. Please, universe, bring that back to me if I'm meant to, like, remember that. That feels important. Svastika. There's... What was it? Was it really originally called the swastika? That's interesting. That's weird. Okay. I really thought it had a different name. Symbols are so important though, especially the Greek key and stuff like that. We see that on all of these symbols are on so many of these old world buildings. It has something to do with all of this, especially where they're talking about the symbols and how they, I don't remember what it said specifically. If any of y'all do, that'd be awesome. But it was something about how the symbols are important in like making us remember the stories and comparing the past and present in that comparison we're constantly doing to take in. Oh, what does it say? Some of the comments were filtered. I don't know how to turn that off. I don't want to filter comments. Can I change that? I don't know. Comment settings, there we go. Masked comments. Isn't masked comments. Block keywords. Filter comments. No, we're gonna turn all our comments on. There we go. Okay. I want to see what everyone's saying, no matter what they're saying. I don't know what it hid. I wouldn't be surprised if it was something about us talking about the swastika, because it doesn't like that. It makes us want to say pew pew and unalive and graped and mustache man and drumpf and is not real. I hate the fucking censorship bullshit. I'm always gonna just say the fucking word, because words are power. Words are spells, and diluting them like that negates the severity of things. So that's why I took off the end. Yeah, that makes sense, yeah. Well, that's fascinating. Okay, let's dive back into the all of the symbols of all of this. Let's see. The scepters, staffs, and maces carried by monarchs and high priests alike occur with such frequency in the history of bygone eras as to suggest that at the very least these items are aspects of some type of archetypal symbol which the human mind seems to appreciate quite subliminally. Seems like a lot of this is subliminal messaging and like thought loops and energy reinforcing and stuff like that is what I'm noticing. In any case, the energy bar tool technique involves envisaging a small, intensely pulsating dot of light, which the participant charges in his imagination with enormous energy until it is virtually pulsating. The participant then extrudes the dot into the shape of a sparkling, vibrating cylinder of energy, which he then uses to channel force from the universe to selected parts of his body for purposes of healing and revitalization. So you literally just energy heal yourself with frequency and your mind. And just pretend you wave a magic wand over yourself, a little magic light bar. Like your little plant, and you're like, grow, my child, have your nutrients. E. Remote viewing. In addition, the energy bar tool is used as a portal for initiating a follow-on technique called remote viewing. In this context, the participant turns his bar of energy into a whirling vortex through which he sends his imagination in search of new and illuminating insights. The apparent purpose of this symbolism involved in the vortex seems to be to cue the subconscious and convey to it instructions as to what the participant wishes to do, but in terms of nonverbal symbols, which the right hemisphere of the mind is capable of understanding. I think it takes more focus to heal thyself. Yeah, I think it takes more focus, but it's definitely possible. They talk earlier in this, that was one of the things that we were reading about, where it talks about literally imagining speeding the process of healing your leg or making it go numb and being able to not feel pain or inflict pain, or like we can do, it basically said that we can do anything good or bad with the power of our minds. Talking about, I love the AI summary discussing the CIA gateway process and the symbolism of ancient artifacts. It's giving very Indiana Jones up in here. F. Living body map. This technique provides amplification for application of the energy bar tool as a means of healing specific areas or systems of the human body. The configuration of the participant's body is imagined, and then the various major systems such as the nervous and circulatory systems are being envisaged in appropriate colors within the confines of the outline being held in the imagination. The energy bar tool is then applied to energizing, balancing, and healing in whatever manner the participant desires. In the process, the participant visualizes various streams of colored energy flowing out of the tool and into the organ system or area upon which the revitalizing or healing application is being made. So again, it's all energy and color. It's wanting us to visualize color, and the color and our thoughts are having a direct physical, measurable impact on our perceived reality, which isn't actually real according to this paperwork as well. It's all just a simulation we're projecting onto ourselves. Since colors are the result of differing wavelengths of light, which is to say energy at various frequencies, this technique operates on the assumption that as the human body is composed of energy, it can be vitalized and healed through the additive application of additional energy, provided that the energy is applied in the appropriate form. So yeah, this is talking about how literally everything in the known universe is all just energy vibrating at different speeds. And if you can harness it and vibrate at different speeds via meditation or transcendental listening to this music, whateverness, or whatever you choose to do, you can experience whatever you want in all of this. But if we are not our bodies, just energy, would it be us healing the body we manifest? That's the thing, is it says we aren't our bodies, but we simultaneously are, because we created them, because we wanted to have... Oh no, please don't end. Oh no. There we go. Okay, there we go. I had to do the little puzzle piece slide to say I'm active still. But we're not our bodies. We are the energy that is having a physical existence. We don't actually exist. That was another thing this paper said, is that matter doesn't actually exist. It's all just energy circuits vibrating at different speeds. None of this exists. This is all just light that we think is solidified. We tell ourselves is solid, so it is. I expect to be made of flesh and blood and bleed and have bones, so I do. So I am solid, because I expect to be. But if I want to heal myself and apply a different color of energy or have a different experience, all I have to do is shift my thinking, downshift or upshift my vibration, and my experience in my internal and my external completely shifts. The thing, that's what color is our energy. Yeah. And it has to do with auras too. Because when people are sick and stuff like that, or when they're hurt, their auras change. They have like if they got shot in the leg or the arm or something, like their aura looks different around that part. It looks injured, it looks weaker, it looks smaller, it looks harder to perceive. I think it directly also correlates the aura color with the energy that we are intaking from the absolute and the entire connectedness, and also the energy that we are able to output into the world via that laser beam of the concentrated energy, or just by existing in that everything of everythingness. It's all color, it's all light, it's all energy, it's all frequency, it's all vibration, it's all sound, and it's all able to be manipulated at will whenever we fucking want to. And that is the craziest thing to me. G, focus 15. Is there a guy that created glasses to see the human aura? I think so. I think you're onto something, because I know there's what is it? The colorblind glasses. I know there's that. I think there's glasses to see auras. I know there's for sure cameras that can see auras. And it's also making me think, didn't we have something back in like the Vietnam War that we were using where it was like red light goggles, and supposedly it was making the troops see entities that were in other dimensions. They were perceiving other dimensions that exist around us. Yeah, the red optic goggles. And they banned them after a certain time, and now there's like only a handful that still exist because they destroyed most of them. But that also makes me think of that laser experiment with the red light laser, where you can see that code of reality on a wall. The color red seems very important to seeing different dimensions, or just seeing past the veil for some reason. Like even the red goggles, the red light of the laser, seeing the matrix code, the red light experience that I had where I saw the geometric shapes of all of it. That's crazy. I wonder why that is. I wonder what all of the different colors are about. It almost makes me think different colors let you see different parts of different dimensions, like opening different doorways or putting on different glasses or something like that. No, don't apologize. I keep going down all of these different rabbit holes, and it makes this so much more expansive and expressive. I want you guys to go down these rabbit holes with me and be getting education and entertainment and all of that, because we're helping each other connect the puzzle pieces. I was talking about that earlier. When we're feeding into this cosmic consciousness, this collective connectedness, and all of ourselves, by doing all of this, we're feeding the algorithms, we're feeding each other, we are reactivating that dormant DNA inside of ourselves, and we're becoming part of the cosmic awakening and the cosmic remembering. We're meant to remember all of this. We're meant to go down all these sidebars, all of these rabbit holes, and chase all of this. Did they try different laser colors? I don't know. That's a very interesting question, because it also mentions in here that lasers are the strongest and most pure form of light that we have access to currently. So different lasers would be really important. I don't know, because that does make me think. I've seen different experiments where different laser colors affect different different laser colors affect different colors differently. That's a tongue twister, Jesus Christ. But it's like, I don't remember what the colors were, but it all has to do with like color theory, where they would do like a red laser across like blue and yellow paper, or like a green laser across yellow and orange paper, and it was like some of the lasers would completely disintegrate the paper, and then other colors that it went across, it did nothing. And it did not at all interact with that paper, and it has something to do with the size of the atoms, I believe, is what I remember reading about that, where it was like the wavelengths and the atoms are too big or too small for the color to bypass. And that's also how dyes work, is they're literally just changing the size of the holes of the color molecules, basically, and depositing or stripping the color molecules. And that also has to do with, it's making me think, I don't remember what it's called, that one laser, that whole thing with lasers with, was it one of the psyops, or just like the fires that happened in Maui and then also in California, where it's like 99% positive that they used a direct energy weapon where it was just a laser beam, because all of this certain color blue is completely unaffected. And then you'd have like things right across the street from each other that are totally fine, while there's like a house in charred ruins right there. And it's like, actual fires don't care about color. Actual fire doesn't care about sides of the road. Actual fire doesn't care about any of that. But if it's a laser weapon, that does care, and it's only going to affect what you directly beam it across the path of. And we've got video showing all kinds of different things of beams of light coming down from the sky that very much aren't lightning. It's all color. We have all kinds of access to energy weapons and things like that. Our military has shown us through the declassified documents. We've seen some crazy shit, and we have it that we can just attach to plane wings now. We have direct energy weapons that we can attach to plane wings, scalar interference weapons that we can attach to plane wings. Like, we can do pretty much anything and everything from a drone operated by AI. A plane in the sky operated by AI. Some of the blue roofs didn't get burned. Yeah, the blue roofs didn't burn. I saw cars that didn't burn. I saw even tiny ass little details like potted plants. Like a cerulean blue potted plant in the middle of this complete ash was fine, was untouched, was perfectly unharmed, but everything around it is in ruins. That's not how that works. The guy's house was not burnt and his neighbor's house was charged. Umbrellas. Ooh, yeah. What do you mean about umbrellas? Like for energy deflection or what? Or like umbrellas that weren't like maimed in something, or for like reflecting, what am I trying to think of? Like that, like UV reflection and stuff like that? Blue umbrella went burnt. Oh, that's crazy. Yeah, because an umbrella, a fire, sure as shit ain't gonna care about an umbrella. A fire gonna go right through that shit in 0.2 seconds. It's not gonna go, oh, excuse me, little umbrella. Let me just skirt past you real quick. Let me give you some space. Little planter right there. Let me scooch around you. Little car, let me mind your tires. You just bought that. You just paid that off. I'm not gonna hurt you. No, bitch. That's gonna be roasted and burnt to the ground. That's gonna be a pile of microplastics. Okay, let's get back into wherever the heck we were. Where were we? Oh, y'all. G, focus 15, travel into the past. This is getting real juicy. We're on page 24 of 29, so we're getting pretty close to the end. Thank you so much for all of y'all who are sticking around for this. I really hope that you were learning and absorbing and just getting all of the things. All of the things. Oh, I also need to plug you guys in really quick before we start this, methinks. Because my phone is, or my iPad is dying. I'm going to turn you guys really quick. Oh gosh. Where? Please let me charge while I'm on live. Okay. Where? Oh gosh. Oh no. Please don't break my charger. Alright. Can you guys see me okay still? Here we go. Okay. All of the preceding techniques are conducted at the level of expanded awareness known as Focus 12. However, the technique of time travel into the past. Yeah, so they talk about being able to travel into the past and also predict the future with complete accuracy through all of this energetic connection, because it's all connected. Involves further expansion of consciousness through the inclusion of additional levels of sound on the hemisync tapes. Some of the sound is probably merely an intensification of the basic hemisync frequencies being designed to further modify brainwave frequency and amplitude. But I'd say probably merely an intensification, like they don't know. Why do they say that like it's ambiguous, like they're not sure what the hemisync tapes are actually made of and actually doing when they're working with the Monroe Institute directly? They're working with the people that made these directly. What do you mean you don't know? That seems like something's weird and hidden in there. I don't know if y'all are reading into that like I'm reading into that, but I read into that like that with everything, because it is that serious with all of these agencies. Every single time you think it's not that serious, I guarantee, lay my life on it, is that fucking serious every single time. They hide so much weird shit. They do so much weird shit. It's all so important, the things they say, and especially the things they don't say and the things they allude to. But a lot of the times they will straight up just tell us, like, oh yeah, your mind creates energy 1 billion times stronger than the fucking sun. But you just have to read through this 29 pages of declassified, boring CIA jargon to figure it out. You just have to spend, 2 hours straight going through this, just one of their documents, figuring this out. Let's see. Other aspects of the added sound patterns appear to be designed to provide subtle, almost subliminal suggestions to the mind as to what is desired by way of further expanded consciousness, so as to support the verbal suggestions and instructions also contained on the tape. Yeah, so they're definitely putting subliminals in our music to subliminally influence us 1,000%. 1,000%. The whole industry is connected. I don't remember what psyop. There was a psyop about that specifically. And then they made like a movie or a book or like a DJ or an album or something with that same name, so that's what comes up whenever you Google it. And they do that with a lot of things, a lot of these psyops, a lot of these sketchy military projects. They will just name a movie or name a book or name something and then push that into the mainstream narrative and be like, oh, this is what you were looking for, actually. This over here, this doesn't exist. We're just going to pretend that this isn't declassified. We're going to pretend that this FOIA log doesn't exist because you have to request it specifically to get it. Even the instructions are highly symbolic, with time being visualized as a huge wheel in the universe with various spokes, each of which gives access to a different part of the participant's past. Everything is symbolic with all of this. The symbols are so important. Focus 15 is a very advanced state and is extremely difficult to achieve. Probably less than 5% of all participants in any given gateway experience actually fully achieve the Focus 15 state during the course of the approximately 7 days of training. That's crazy, y'all. Less than 5% of people can reach Focus 15, and I think there's like Focus 30 or Focus 20 something. Like, it keeps going. And it talked about Focus 3 is where things really start to happen, from what I remember earlier in this. So imagine what a fully enlightened, fully focused, like, monk could do with their energy if you're fully able to tap in and harness this cosmic connection. If less than 5% can harness Focus 15 and it keeps going from that,